Okay, lesson 3, we're going to create a team structure and culture. So at the end of this lesson, you will determine a specific big goal, generate specific project ideas to help determine the project that your team will complete, determine your team project focus as it aligns with the big goal, select a partner nonprofit organization, and develop a brand for your team. Name, logo, mascot, and slogan in order to communicate your team identities. Before we get started, I think what this teacher has to say, I think you guys should hear it. So we'll watch this first.
Lesson 3 is the glue: team name, team mascot, and slogan. They have begun to do some research on what they might want to do as a project, and so they start to talk amongst themselves, and there's always one or two that take over. But the great thing about this is it is the one thing that finally brings them all together, because they'll come up with the goofiest names in the whole wide world, and then they will come up with the one that ties them all together. Houston was sponsoring the Super Bowl, and so the team had decided that they wanted to do something that was around the Super Bowl. Only not the S-U-P-E-R, they were going to do the S-O-U-P-E-R, and they were going to collect canned soup and donate it to a food bank. And so they went back and forth about what was going to pull them together. And the quietest one in the group, which is what is so great about Lead4Feed, said, you know what? We should be the super squad. And the whole group just rallied around this. And so they began to come up with these silly, pictures that they wanted to make about their soup can and what their little squad was going to look like. But they had been also reading in all their research about the importance of food and how that relates to success in school. And Norm said, if you don't get fed, you don't succeed in school. And so their slogan became, Feed to Succeed. But watching them work as a team, and I just stood back. I watched all the ones that wanted to kind of take over, but watch them gel as a team on lesson 3 is the best part.
Okay, so I'm excited for you guys to get started with this lesson. So let's go ahead and click the link. And to introduce this, now that your teams are formed and you have increased your knowledge about the issues, it is time to start using an insight-driven approach to leading people and achieving goals. Using an insight-driven approach means you will use information from your research, personal experiences, and the people on your team to guide your project. In this lesson, your team will determine its big goal, something specific that will serve as your goal throughout your Lead4Change project. In addition, you will generate a list of project ideas that could help you take steps towards your big goal. Use this introduction this is something where you can share your success stories or examples of success that you've seen in the real world. Okay. So activity 1, determine your big goal. What's the impact or positive change you want to make with your team project? That's the first question. I guess before we get going with all this, here's the intro. Now that your team is formed and you've increased your knowledge about the issues you've selected, it's time to use an insight-driven approach to leading people and achieving goals. Using an insight-driven approach means you will use information from your research, personal experience, and the people you take with you to guide your project. So let's watch this video with David Novak.
Now it's time to go from thinking to doing, and it starts with your big goal. Let me tell you about our big goal. We realized there was a huge problem with hunger around the world. So what we wanted to do is create the world's largest hunger awareness and hunger relief effort that had ever been done so that we can really solve and attack the problem of world hunger. Now, one of the things that I think is really important is to follow a very simple process, which we call strategy, structure, culture. What I'm really talking about is for your project, what do you want to get done? That's really the strategy that you have, okay? The structure. how do you organize around making it happen? How do you get your team galvanized, and how do you assign responsibilities, and how do you say, okay, you do this, you do that, let's get these people to do this, let's get more resources here. How do you put the structure in place to really make your initiative happen? And then how do you work together, the culture, the work environment? How do you reinforce each other with positive feedback and give each other the kind of feedback you need to make sure that together as a team you're getting your initiative done? This is how you take people with you and really move from just thinking about something to really driving action. Too many times people just start saying, hey, I'd like to do something, but they don't go through the mechanics of really making it happen with a real thorough action plan. And what you got to have now is a plan. So it's time for you to create one.
Okay, in another video I want to show you here before we actually get working on this stuff is what we're going to do here shortly. I'll come to that, I guess, in a little bit. So what's the impact or positive change you want to make with your team project? It says to do this individually. So maybe when you do this with your committee this fall, have these, I can have copies of these handouts done for you, and then each person individually during your meeting can fill this out, or maybe you just hand these to them and the day before your meeting and you ask them to fill this out beforehand, okay? And then when you come to the meeting, you guys can discuss this. What's the impact or positive change you want to make with the team project? What's the single biggest thing your team can do to help address the issue you selected? Describe the outcome you envision when you accomplish your big goal. Ask yourself, am I thinking big enough? Does it make me a little nervous? Would my peers think it is not just a goal, but a big goal? Okay. And part two, so you do the first part on your own. And then here's a tip. With your team members, brainstorm examples of changes you want to affect and how to use technology and social media and other resources available to help you execute it. So second part, you're going to do in teams. So maybe you hand this out the day before your meeting. When you guys come in, share your thoughts and ideas with your team. Once all team members have shared their thoughts, decide on the big goal your team will accomplish. Your Lead for Change project will be designed to take steps toward reaching this goal. Be clear about your team's big goal by discussing the problems you've learned about in the previous lessons. Remember that leading is about creating a strong vision, but it is also about communicating that vision clearly to those you're taking with you. Consider these questions. What kind of impact do you want to have in your school, community, or the world? What kind of change do you want to affect? And where? For example, do you want to increase the number of recycling bins in your neighborhood? Do you want to stop bullying in your school? Do you want to help save endangered species around the world? Use these questions to help you craft your big goal. Use hashtag L4CBig to share your goal on social media. I think that's a great idea. So then go ahead and type your team's or put your team's big goal here, or write it on your paper. I'd prefer you guys just write all this stuff out and then hand me your handouts when you're done. Okay? So what's the single biggest thing that you can imagine that your team can do to help you address the issues selected? To help you determine your big goal. So here might be an example of what you could say. We can help our friends and neighbors live healthier, more productive lives by helping them get the food they need to survive. Describe the outcome you envision if you accomplish your big goal. As you write it down, think about the questions that we talked about right here. Here's an example response. Everyone in our community is brought closer together by our project. Fewer people go hungry, and we can accomplish big things together. So an example of a big goal that you could put down here in that case would be to feed people in our community who are going hungry. So that's how you can complete that activity. Once you're done with that, it's part two of that activity, then you can move on to activity 2. Now that you have thought about your big goal, it is time for your team to generate ideas for your Lead for Change project. In other words, how will you make your big goal happen? So you're going to generate and develop project ideas, okay? So now that you've determined it's time for your team to generate ideas and action steps, make a list of at least 10 project ideas that are big but possible. Your team will be comparing and selecting at least one project to implement to reach your big goal. Explore a variety of sources for current events and what groups of people are doing to make a difference. For example, try to identify online videos from experts or connect with local nonprofit leaders in order to research needs and share with your teammates. Remember that family members or others nearby may have real-life experiences that can be reliable sources. So go ahead and come up with 10 project ideas, okay? Are you thinking big enough? Some leaders are afraid to set big goals for fear of failing. Just remember that by striving for greatness, you have the opportunity to inspire those around you and learn what the people you lead are really capable of. Think about some goals you have set for yourself. How can you transform these goals into big goals? Decide which projects will help the team reach the big goal, especially if the entire team is working virtually. So these might be 10 projects that, these are 10 things that have to be done in order to achieve the big goal, okay? I think we may have already seen this video.
We'd all agree it's one thing to say you want to do something. It's totally another thing until you do it or you back up your work.
Yeah, we already saw that one. So go ahead and do that now. And then once you're done with that, continue with activity 2 down here. Now that you've brainstormed ideas for your Lead4Change project, it's time to discuss the merits of the best ideas and choose a project your team can develop. You have to believe it can be done. Refer to your notes from lesson 2 as you discuss the questions below and narrow down your project options. Of the ideas you brainstormed, which ideas are most appealing? Which ideas can help people who need it? What efforts are other nonprofit organizations doing to help or bring awareness to the issue? Once you've thought about and discussed these questions, combine and elaborate on your best ideas to turn them into a project that will help you reach your big goal. Describe your project in the space below. So on your handouts, go ahead and write down, describe the project idea on which your team would like to take action in order to reach the big goal, and who are the experts and charity organizations that your team can look to in order for you to reach your big goal. Okay, so take a minute now to work on that together as a team. All right, once you're done with that, we're ready to move on to activity 3. This is just the start of your Lead4Change journey. Now that you've determined your big goal and selected your project idea, take some time to create a team identity. Work together to create a brand, logo, and slogan that will affect both your team members and the focus of your project. Be prepared to share your team brand. So before we do that, I would like for you, in this activity, you'll create this identity as an opportunity for your group to combine the individual talents and abilities of each member into a cohesive, productive team. By creating this identity or brand, you are communicating who you are as a team and beginning to provide some context for your projects. Collaborate with your team members to complete the following steps. Team name. Think about how your name communicates who you are as a team. On your own, brainstorm at least 10 possible names for your team. Share as a team the names you've brainstormed and gain consensus from team members on a team name. So again, the day before your meeting, hand this out and maybe require them to do activity 1, part 1 before the meeting, and have them do activity 2 before the meeting. Just the first part there, and then have them do the brainstorming for the name before they come also. Share as a team the names you've brainstormed, gain consensus from the team members on a team name, then create a slogan. This is a way to communicate who you are as a team in the form of a distinctive or catchy phrase. For example, finger licking good, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or Live Mas, Taco Bell, just do it, Nike. So what's your team slogan going to be? Create a team mascot or logo. Think about how you can visually communicate your team name. Could you incorporate your school colors or logo to build identity and recognition within the school? You could use canva.com to do this, or you could just draw it. Brainstorm some ideas with your team. Create a draft of a team logo or a mascot. Print this page, or draw it separately, okay? But I would prefer you just write everything down on this. Don't type it. This should be a printed copy. So when you're done with all that, so what? You've reached an exciting point in the lessons. You've selected a big goal and decided exactly what your project idea will be. In addition, you created a team identity to inspire your work. Now you're ready to move forward and create an action plan to help you accomplish all you wish to achieve as a team. Add to your challenge entry. Social media post of your big goal. Please link and be sure it is set to public. Create a social media post that describes your big goal. Remember that posts with pictures get more attention, so consider including a picture, drawing, or graphic. And use your team name, slogan, and mascot. Now go articulate. So I guess now would be a time when I could show you this. If you go to www.lead4change.org, I'm going to make your teams up, and then I'll share your access to this. And this is where you will be uploading all of your stuff. But for posting the social media posts, as they suggest, you guys should all have access to Bellevue FBLA's social media. And so post the stuff, use the hashtags that they have there, but do it through Bellevue FBLA's social media accounts. Also, I want to show you one more video. I think this is important for you to do. And I have big pads of paper in my room that you could do this.
You've decided on your big goal. You've put in the time, you've carved out your idea, and now it's time to take an important step toward completing your service project. You can't do it alone, of course. After all, nobody has ever reached the pinnacle of success without a little help along the way. Well, almost nobody. So what you need to do is create a people map. How do you do it? The concept is straightforward, so let's get started. In the center of your outline, write down your big goal. Then, in the network of boxes around it, list all the different individuals and groups you'll need to bring with you in order to accomplish your goal. Be sure to include your team name, of course, and beyond that, think who are the other people and organizations who will be instrumental in helping you succeed. Think broadly, and if you run out of boxes, just add more. Now, brainstorm, talk with your classmates, and get the ball rolling. After all, the more you collaborate and take people along with you, the more successful you'll be. Need help? Watch this video again, or ask your teacher for a hand. Happy people mapping!
Like I said, I have big tablets of paper in my room that you can use to do the people mapping.
It's one thing to say you want to do something. It's
okay, and that's
another thing.
we've already seen that one too. So now let me know your team name and team slogan, and I would love to see it as a post on our social media for Bellevue FBLA.